You rewatching BVD Land, where we don't rent out the Constitution by the hour. Tonight, Donald Trump just tried to federalize the National Guard again, this time in Chicago. And guess what? A federal judge just told him, not so fast. Trump's been deploying troops like they're Uber drivers, first Washington, then Portland, then LA, and now Chicago. But Judge April Perry just ruled his latest move unlawful and unconstitutional. In plain English, he broke the law. Again, the ruling came after an all-night hearing where Judge Perry said Trump's order violated the Constitution and was based on unreliable evidence. That's legal code for you made it up. The judge even compared his Chicago stunt to his failed attempt in Portland, where another court already caught the Trump team fabricating chaos to justify sending in troops. And Perry went further. She said these fake emergency claims only add fuel to the fire Trump himself started. So let's get this straight. He lights the match, screams, fire. Then demands the right to call in soldiers to put out the flames he caused. That's not leadership. That's arson with a flag on it. Glenn Kirshner joined me to break it down. He said Perry's ruling fits a clear pattern, court after court finding Trump's National Guard deployments illegal. And now, she's banning him from doing it for at least 14 days while she reviews whether to extend the block. In other words, a temporary restraining order against a president who can't restrain himself? And Trump's excuse? Same as always, there's an insurrection. That is his magic word, the get-out-of-law-free card he waves whenever he wants power he doesn't have. But the judges aren't buying it anymore. They've seen the footage. No rebellion, no war zone. Just protests, the kind protected by the First Amendment. The only person declaring war is Donald Trump, against the rule of law. Judge Perry even ripped the Department of Homeland Security, saying their factual accounts of crime were pure fiction. Her words, unreliable evidence. That's judge talk for lies on government letterhead. And she's not alone. Judges in California and Oregon said the same thing. Trump's DOJ is recycling fake intel to justify militarizing blue cities. It's like a script, same chaos, different zip code. And you have to hand it to him, he's consistent. When his first deployment got blocked in Los Angeles, he appealed. Then he tried again in Portland. Blocked. Now Chicago. Blocked again. It is like a toddler who keeps touching the stove because he doesn't believe in heat. But here's where it gets dark. Glenn says Trump's not just playing soldier. He's setting a legal precedent. If he can normalize using troops to protect cities now, he'll claim that same power to protect elections later. That's the endgame. You call it security, he calls it leverage. Because when November comes, 2026, 2028, pick your year, he wants the power to put boots on the ground where ballots are being counted. That's not speculation, it's strategy. Remember, this is the same guy who tried to seize voting machines in Georgia, who called his own vice president a coward for not overturning an election. He's not changing tactics, just uniforms. So every one of these rulings from LA to Portland to Chicago isn't just a local win, it's a firewall for democracy. Glenn told me judges are starting to see the pattern. They're comparing notes, calling out the lies, and realizing that Trump's emergency powers are as fake as his charity foundation. Judge Perry even cited other judges' findings from Oregon, showing that this isn't isolated. It's a nationwide scheme to weaponize federal troops for political theater. And it's unraveling in court. But here is the real twist. The very courts Trump spent years attacking are now the ones stopping him. He called them enemies. He mocked Obama judges. Now they're the only thing standing between him and a military occupation of U.S. cities. Talk about poetic justice. And you know what? Even Glenn, who's been fighting corruption his whole career, says he's finally optimistic. Because judges are no longer afraid to connect the dots. They're done pretending Trump acts in good faith. The so-called presumption of regularity, that presidents act lawfully, doesn't apply to a man who has made lawbreaking a lifestyle. Glenn put it perfectly. If courts keep giving him the benefit of the doubt, they'll presume America's democracy right into its own death. That's the wake-up call. Trump fooled them once, maybe twice, but now? He's out of passes. The judiciary's catching on, the record's catching up, and the playbook's collapsing. Because for every one of Trump's lawsuits, there's now a counter-ruling. For every order he signs, there's a judge quoting the Constitution louder than his tweets. He's losing not just in court, but in credibility, and even his legal luck is running out of appeal. And make no mistake, These rulings matter far beyond Chicago. They're signals to future courts, to voters, to history, that when the time came, the law didn't blink. That even when the executive lost control, the judiciary didn't lose its spine. So tonight, the message from Chicago is simple. You can't declare war on your own citizens. You can't invent insurrections to justify power grabs. And you can't drape tyranny in red, white, and blue and call it law and order. This is BVD Land, where we call the chaos before it calls itself democracy. Hit subscribe before someone decides public order means troops at your polling place.